man of the people, a mobilizer par excellence, a nationalist, patriot to the core, selfless leader, a peacemaker, and a lifelong Pan-Africanist. Kenya's former cabinet minister and Prime Minister.
Mimi Raila Amolo Odinga,
The first African Union High Representative for Infrastructure Development from 2018 to 2023. Raila Amolo Odinga, with his profound leadership experience and diplomatic skills, demonstrates a keen understanding of Africa's challenges, embodies geopolitical awareness, and represents historical precedents through his commitment to consultative processes. His philosophy and experience make him the ideal candidate for the role of African Union Commission chairperson. His deep-rooted sense of African identity and commitment to Pan-Africanism are at the core of his political philosophy. His key focus and commitment are to harness Africa's rich and vast human and natural resources to command the global influence it rightfully warrants. He is an ardent champion of African unity, intra-African trade and integration. The Right Honourable Raila Odinga is a visionary, transformative and action-oriented leader who has consistently demonstrated admirable leadership qualities that will provide impetus in the actualization of Africa's priorities. This has been demonstrated through resource mobilization for the implementation of key infrastructure projects under the Programme for Infrastructure Development in Africa. As a global statesman, he has represented Kenya across the continent and the continent across the world. He has been a peace mediator and election observer, illustrating expertise and experience to serve internationally as an effective advocate for Africa. In his tenure as Prime Minister of Kenya, he oversaw the national budget and implementation of fiscal policies that enhanced transparency and efficiency in public spending. He introduced performance contracting in the government, significantly improving public service delivery. Honourable Raila Odinga's leadership roles have consistently involved managing and leading diverse teams across different cultural and political contexts. As AU High Representative for Infrastructure Development, he led a team of advisors from various African countries, fostering a collaborative environment that leveraged cultural and political diversities. He has a proven track record of championing the voices of the underprivileged, building consensus among stakeholders from diverse backgrounds, and ensuring that policies and projects reflect the collective aspirations of the African peoples. The Right Honourable Raila Odinga is committed to harnessing Africa's youth's potential and has championed the adoption of technology in various capacities throughout his career. His role at the African Union involved promoting the integration of digital solutions in infrastructure projects such as the Continental High-Speed Train and Smart City initiatives. To align Africa to Agenda 2063 and usher the continent into a new era of shared prosperity, there is no better leader other than the Right Honourable Raila Amolo Odinga.
Excellencies, I present to you a visionary Pan-African, a bold and wise leader, a professional and technocrat, as well as a towering statesman and a veteran mobilizer for positive change. Kenya endorses his candidature unreservedly, and we commit wholeheartedly to support his candidature, his vision, and his leadership.
The champion of Pan-Africanism. This is Africa's century.
Africa, a continent of unmatched beauty, diversity, and potential. A land of resilience, unity, and hope. Yet, to harness our potential fully, we need a leader who embodies these ideals, one who can guide us through these challenges towards a brighter future. Raila Odinga stands as the strongest candidate for the African Union Commission chair. With a lifetime dedicated to public service, diplomacy and governance, Odinga has proven time and time again that he is a leader for all Africans.
I am a Pan-Africanist, but I'm also an Afro-optimist, as opposed to Afro-pessimist. Afro-pessimists are those who have given up on Africa, who say Africa is a lost cause, that Africa is a condemned continent. But Afro-optimists are those who believe in Africans' ability to develop their own continent, that Africa will not be developed by foreign powers. It will be developed by the African people themselves.
His deep and nuanced understanding of Africa's complexities, his unwavering commitment to democracy, and his ability to bring together diverse voices make him uniquely qualified to lead the African Union.
My vision for Africa is a developed, integrated, and prosperous continent.
Odinga's vision is perfectly aligned with the African Union's Agenda 2063. He understands that for Africa to realize its true potential, we must overcome the persistent obstacles that have held us back. Under his leadership, the African Union will adopt a proactive, strategic approach to these challenges, ensuring our collective progress is not just a dream, but a reality. Raila Odinga's candidacy is not just a victory for Kenya or for East Africa. It is a victory for all Africa. His leadership will solidify Africa's position on the global stage, ensuring that our continent continues to be a driving force for positive change and development. In Odinga, Africa will find a leader who is ready to rise to the occasion to guide us into a future where our potential is fully realized. Raila Odinga, for the African Union, for Africa, for our future. And the man is ready to serve.
My name is Raila Amolo Odinga, and I am ready to serve.
Elle a dit garde tes trésors. regarde-moi. Aïcha, Aïcha, réponds-moi. Je dirai des mots, des poèmes. Je jouerai les musiques du ciel. Et je prendrai les rayons du soleil pour éclairer tes yeux de rêve. Aïcha, Aïcha, écoute-moi. regarde-moi.
Welcome back. You're watching NTV tonight. Africa is counting on just hours to Saturday's African Union Commission election. And Raila Odinga, Kenya's former Prime Minister and presidential candidate, is a man who never shies away from taking political gambles. A seasoned politician who now has his eyes on the Continental Prize as he battles for the African Union Commission chairmanship position. In less than 48 hours, Odinga will know his fate, whether he continues to remain in Nairobi or shifts base to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And TV's Duncan Heimber takes a look at Raila Odinga's AUC bid, the ringing endorsements he has received so far, and why to pundits it's a deserved race.
I am made in Eastern Africa for Africa. I am ready for Africa. But I'm here as the African lion. I've been asleep in the jungles of the Congo, but now I'm awake.
A bold, brave, daring and valiant declaration by a candidate for the African Union Commission chairmanship, Engineer Raila Amolo Odinga, during Kenya's official launch of its bid for the continental seat. When his bosom buddy, former Nigerian president, retired General Matthew Okikiola Olusegun Obasanjo, officially announced his candidature, Odinga had his dream, vision, and mission in a nutshell.
As a Pan-Africanist, I believe strongly that Africa is playing in a league that it should not play. That Africa deserves better.
And I hope and pray that God will help us. Africa needs to stand up and stand up firmly. There's so much at stake in Africa today that we need to get it right.
for the past 12 months, Odinga has crisscrossed the continent soliciting for votes from various heads of state and governments who will have the final say on Saturday, February 15, 2025 afternoon, when the election will be taking place in Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, during the 38th AU Ordinary Summit.
Kenya is offering an experienced individual, a competent and experienced individual to lead the AUC.
I think Raila Odinga is no stranger to Africa. One has just to go to his Pan-African credentials. You'll find that he has been an observer of elections under different organizations. You'll find that he's been a mediator in African conflicts, including in Ivory Coast, where it is the AU that nominated him. He has been the high representative for infrastructure development, again nominated by the AU, and he has championed the African cause.
When you look at what we are facing in Africa today, we have the DRC challenge, we have the Sahel challenge, we have the Sudan challenge, South Sudan. We are seeing some parts of West Africa still being ravaged by terrorist and extremist elements. We have governments that have seen a lot of instability. Then what you need, even the issues around the Horn of Africa, what the continent needs now is somebody who has a strong political underpinning. The political acumen becomes necessary. I think what the AUC is looking for now is not a technical person. They are looking at somebody who can engage politically, who the heads of state and heads of government will regard as somebody who is a peer, and they can engage at a certain level. Okay, so we want a political leadership to come to AUC.
And as Raila Odinga readies himself to face Africa, the neighbors from the north, west, and south have stepped forward explicitly, declaring where their vote lies.
And I am here to support the candidature of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga on behalf of Uganda, because he is a convinced Pan-Africanist. He's not just mtafuta kazi. There is a job, I apply for it. This is not career progression. It is not adding to your CV, this one. No, this is, in the army, when we are doing our other ritual work of sorting out some issues, there is somebody who is in front of the section. We call him a pointsman. So we are now looking for a pointsman, the one to lead us.
With Right Honorable Raila Odinga, we envision an African Union that is ever strong, that is championing Africa's socio-economic development, and that ensures Africa's voice takes center stage globally. It is based on his breadth of experience that he was charged with expediting Africa's integration through infrastructure development. Engineer Odinga knows full well what our needs, what our union needs to do to meet the infrastructure development gaps critical to unlocking Africa's potentials.
I have known Right Honorable Raila Odinga for many years, and his Pan-African commitment and consistency. His consistency is admirable. Let us talk to our friends across the continent so that Right Honorable Odinga can be the next chairperson.
You're talking of Raila, the Pan-Africanist. You have to say that he borrows a lot from the forefathers, the founding fathers of Africa. When you look at people like Kwame Nkrumah, when you look at people like Julius Nyerere, I think what Raila is bringing as a Pan-Africanist, he's looking at those other leaders who came and their divergent opinions, and he's saying we can face our Africa vis-a-vis the rest of the world.
In 2017, Kenya went for the same continental seat with Ambassador Amina Mohamed as the candidate, but was not lucky. This time round, it says this is the moment. Why is it a must-win for Kenya?
Kenya is a country that is seen as having a high profile. Okay? The credentials around our democratic space, around our peace situation, around our long career of election all the way from the 60s, from independence. This is a country. Despite the hiccups that we get, you cannot take it away from Kenya. We have always held elections on schedule. So we have created that profile. We are among the largest economies in the continent. Perhaps we are the fifth largest economy on the African continent. Okay. So this gives us an opportunity for us to offer our experiences and an opportunity to serve Kenyans the way others have served. It's also good for Kenya. It enhances our diplomatic credentials as a nation. It's also a source of pride for the people of Kenya that we can come forward and have men and women who can also serve the continent or serve the broader international community at high levels.
If you go through the history of Africa, independent Africa, and you look at the various positions that have been out there for African countries to try and get, I think Kenya has been a reluctant player for so long until a few years ago.
There are some quarters that refer to Odinga as Kenya's political enigma and the second Mandela of Africa.
Because of his selflessness. I think when one looks at Raila Odinga here in Kenya and then tries to project that for the rest of Africa, then you see an individual who has sacrificed not just for the country, but at times sacrificed individual interests for the good of the country. Rarely do you see an individual who believes that he has won the elections, but when the country is threatened with a precipice, like in 2007, like in the several handshakes that he has entered into, both by his tormentors and those who he perceives to have stolen his elections, then you see a man who puts country first at the expense of party or his own personal interests. And that can just be seen the way he has carried his campaign, that continental leaders nearly treat him as one of them because of the place that he occupies.
Throughout my leadership and service to the public, I have noted the significance of defining strategic goals and appreciating the influence of political dynamics on the outcomes of these goals. So decision-making must be backed by a balance between policy and geopolitics. I plan to work with you, Your Excellencies, to integrate this continent. You're one people who unfortunately are trying too hard to separate from each other. I have traveled the length and breadth of this beautiful continent, and I have seen the faces of Africa's future. I was involved in peace negotiations in Burundi with Mwalimu Nyerere. I was involved as a mediator of the AU with the conflict in Côte d'Ivoire. I was involved in Mozambique. So I understand the continent. And I see the faces of our children, full of hope and energy, and unbound by the borders of yesterday. I dream of an Africa where those borders and colonial languages no longer divide us. We don't want to see Africans to be divided as Anglophones, Francophones, Lusophones. I want them to be Africophones.
Our commitment to strengthening multilateralism from regional to global levels remain steadfast. Kenya has already stepped up to enhance its contribution to Africa's development by championing institutional reform at the African Union. We believe that offering a highly qualified, experienced, and competent candidate to lead the African Union Commission, the Honorable Raila Odinga is a celebrated statesman whose longevity in leadership has been sustained by an unrelenting devotion to democratic change. The Honorable Raila Odinga enjoys a sterling reputation as a zealous Pan-African.
My selection to be Kenya's candidate is not about one man's ambition, but an African's journey to serve the motherland. Indeed, I plan to constitute my cabinet of chairpersons with a continental outlook. I'm grateful that friends and eminent persons across Africa have volunteered to engage in my campaigns from the West, North, South, Central, and of course, Eastern Africa. Excellencies, I'm ready to serve. My heart is ready, and my hands are steady, and with your support, I shall get the opportunity to be of service to Africa, the cradle of mankind. I am made in Eastern Africa for Africa.
Odinga's priority and agenda for Africa is accelerating economic transformation, enhancing intra-African trade and infrastructure, championing financial independence, gender equity and equality, agricultural transformation, climate action, harnessing youth potential, digital transformation, and regional peace and security. Odinga's AUC campaign secretariat, which includes diverse membership drawn from 5 regions of the African Union, was led by Kenya's Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary Korir Sing'oei and Ambassador Elkanah Odembo.
We know that the journey of emancipating Africa from economic domination is not a sprint. it is a marathon. The journey of empowering our women, the journey of realizing Agenda 2063 is not a sprint, it is a marathon. And I want to submit to us that Kenya might have one or two things to teach the continent with regard to marathons. And so we present to you a leader who's run the marathon.
Kenya is offering a lifelong Pan-Africanist, an accomplished global statesman who has demonstrated exceptional and visionary leadership.
What will the AUC contest mean for Raila Amolo, son of Kenya's founding father and first Vice President Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, should he win?
I think this will mean for Raila that the nationalist in him at his prime age is giving in to the Pan-Africanist call. That what you have wanted for your country, can you, during these sunset years, also lend a hand to Mama Africa? I think there could be no better patching at the tail end of his political career. This is his crowning moment.
I think what is important is that you have to give it to him, to give it to Raila, that he's a very determined individual. He does not give up easily. And that resilience, I think, is what Africa needs and what Africa is looking for. So for Raila, he's not looking for prestige. You know, he's a gentleman who is known on the continent. He wants to serve.
General retired Olusegun Obasanjo, who served as president for Nigeria from 1976 to 1979 and later from 1999 to 2007, has stood out as Odinga's chief campaigner from the day he announced his candidacy, and they are still pushing on to the ultimate stage.
They will make Africa proud. You will make Africa powerful. You will make Africa peaceful, and you will make Africa prosperous.
I am ready for Africa, and I believe in the story of the African lion. The lion is an African animal. It's a king of the jungle. The Cameroonian national soccer team is called the Indomitable Lions. The soccer team of Senegal is called the Lions of Teranga. The soccer team of Morocco is called the Atlas Lions. Here in Eastern Africa, we call it the Simba. Call me the king of the jungle. When the king roars, the jungle listens. The African lion is giving a message to the Asian tiger that you Asian tiger, you've danced on the stage alone for far too long. It's your time to quit. The European bear retreated to the North Pole long time ago and is freezing there in the ice. The American panther is also on the retreat, but I'm here as the African lion. I've been asleep in the jungles of the Congo, but now I'm awake and I'm sitting on African gold, African oil, African diamonds, African iron and copper ores. I'm sitting on African bauxite. I'm sitting on African lithium and coltan and uranium. And I have the ability to transform all these materials that I have into wealth for the benefit of my people, and claim the 21st century as an African century. End of the message from African Lion.
At his prime for former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, this is ultimately his do or die moment of his long political career, which, if he clinches the seat, it will definitely and ultimately be his crowning moment as he inevitably prepares to exit active politics after years and years. Duncan Haemba, NTV.
I am made in Eastern Africa for Africa. I am ready for Africa.
No, I don't think you should waste your time discussing petty things. Think of what this alliance wants to achieve and focus on that problem. What do they want to achieve? And you want to achieve an agreement between very many parties, between some civil society groups and everybody else on how they will work in the next election. Now that's the most important issue. Personally, what name we call ourselves is neither here nor there.
Emilio Stanley Mwai Kibaki, the gentleman of Kenyan politics, described by admirers as a great statesman, a shrewd politician and an astute economist, and credited with key decisions that helped shape the foundations of the Kenyan nation state.
Any good things that need to be said about a person should be said about Kibaki. He was just a remarkable person, a person who got along with everybody, irrespective of the station in life.
I was privileged to work with a real gentleman. Kibaki would never entertain fitina. No. So if he gave you work to do, he expected you to do the work.
I remember him as a leader who was committed to doing the best he could for Kenyans, a person who was professional in the way he conducted business and government, a great debater in Parliament, a great contributor, and the Hansard would bear me right.
Time magazine, as early as when he was just an assistant minister, Times magazine said that Kibaki will be the future leader of Kenya. And he was very young. He was in his early 30s.
An unlikely hero, Kibaki rose from a small village called Gatuyain in present-day Nyeri County to become one of Kenya's most consequential leaders.
What we need as Kenyans, and the action we want to see, is government showing that it is serious, that it means to actually root out corruption. And there will be no way of rooting out corruption until you can have an anti-corruption authority which is able to prosecute people without reference to the Attorney General. In other words, without reference to clearance by government.
In a political career spanning well over half a century, Kibaki is credited for his part in penning the famous sessional paper No. 10 of 1965 to put in motion the social and economic evolution of a then young nation. A document that would guide Kenya's economic philosophy for decades.
He was one of the promulgators, if you like, of the sessional paper No. 10 of 1965 in his capacity as economist, along with the late Tom Boy at that time, which was a very important document in terms of giving a philosophical approach to developing this country.
African socialism, and its application in the development of Kenya. That was the first document to define where Kenya was going. He actually wrote it himself. But of course, it's today known as a book written by Tom Mboya. Tom Mboya, in fact, commissioned it because when Kibaki went to Commerce and Industry, Jomo Kenyatta President Kenyatta created a Ministry of Planning and National Development. It was split from the Treasury. And the first minister for that ministry was Tom Mboya. So Tom Mboya inaugurated that book.
Mwai Kibaki is one of the people who founded the foundation or the stability that we really ride on up to now, because they came up with a very good blueprint of mixed economy, not revolutionary, but pragmatic economic blueprint, which brought in investors, which allowed private sector development in the country, and which really empowered the business in this country.
Before assuming power in 2002, Mwai Kibaki had served in the government of the founding president, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, navigating the delicate Kenyatta succession battles to serve in second president Daniel Arap Moi's administration, largely as a finance minister and vice president, before going into opposition at the onset of multipartyism in 1991.
Kibaki was, I think, forced into the opposition by circumstances. I think at that time, you know, the style of governance changed quite a lot after the attempted coup of 1982. That changed the style of governance, because the then president was more focusing on security of the state rather than probably tapping the best brains available. So loyalty became the number one thing. And if anybody expressed a different opinion, there was a lot of sensitivity, and which caused sometimes misinterpretation. And Kibaki started finding his room of operation quite narrowed. The space, you know, as Minister of Finance, a Vice President, you need to have a broad space. But because of that sensitivity, the space of operation became quite narrow.
I found in him a very eloquent debater. He was Vice President then, and he was the leader of government business in the House. We used to then have serious debaters in the House. And President Kibaki one time famously said that even rigging requires some intelligence. That was because of the Mlolongo system, which tried to dislodge him as MP for Thaya. It could not work.
I came into Parliament in December 1992 in the Democratic Party, which he led, and I was in the opposition benches with him as my leader for 10 years until 2002, when we went to government and he appointed me Minister of Water, later Minister for Justice, until I resigned on principle in April 2009. And to that extent, my political career is very much tied to his, and I can say I'm one of those people who learned at his feet to always do your best for your country.
In the run-up to the 2002 general election, at the tail end of the Moi era, Raila Odinga, who had teamed up with KANU earlier in the year, would lead a host of cabinet ministers out of the grand old party to join up with the budding opposition alliance, then led by Kibaki. The Raila faction had by now formed itself into a political party, the Liberal Democratic Party, LDP.
Kuanzia leo mimi na Mheshimiwa Joyce Saitoti na Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka na Mheshimiwa Mude Wori, sisi tuko katika National Council ya chama cha LDP.
Leading to the formation of the National Rainbow Coalition, NAC, a political juggernaut that would energize the masses and drastically alter the trajectory of Kenyan politics.
But what we are called upon is to forgive and say what happened, did happen, but from this day on, we want to build that new Kenya.
But as Kibaki stood on the cusp of history, the unthinkable happened. A near-fatal accident at the Machakos Junction as Kibaki returned to the city from a campaign rally in Ukambani.
I got a call from one of the aides of Mwai Kibaki, one of his officers, Mr. Derito, telling me they have had an accident in Machakos. It was about 6 going to 7. And all I asked him is it a bad accident? He says, well, not too bad, but can we meet at the hospital? So we stopped whatever we were doing. I drove to the hospital and waited there, and it was getting dark by the time the team arrived. And we got him out of the ambulance and went to the emergency room. And then that's how when you did our x-rays and scans, that's the time we realized how badly injured he was. You know, with a fracture of the leg, fracture of the arm, injuries to the neck and other areas. And here was a man who's all of us were looking forward to as the hope and the savior of this country in the year 2002. And now, this accident.
Kibaki got involved in an accident. Others, opportunists took advantage of that position. We never held it against Kibaki.
With the country primed for change and the remaining NAC principles firing up the crowds even in Kibaki's absence, the die was cast for KANU that had held a firm grip on the nation for nearly 40 years. Kibaki, still confined to a wheelchair, roamed home with a landslide, bringing KANU's dominance to a screeching halt.
Mimi, Mwai Kibaki, naapa kwamba nitakuwa mwaminifu kwa Jamhuri ya Kenya.
He told me, why don't you become the chairman of my campaign? And I became the chairman of his campaign. And I am proud of having chaired his campaign and him having succeeded in the cleanest and most fair and fair election that Kenya has ever had, 2000. Now, all that, then when he won, of course, he called me to go and become his private secretary.
I had the media at my office. I heard they were waiting for me. They would like to talk to me. I asked about what. Then they said, you have been appointed head of public service. I said, what? By who? I mean, I have not heard. How can I believe what you are talking about? So I can't talk about it. Then, fortunately, under TV in the office, when I switched it on, I found Yes, they had been appointed head of public service. So it was all surprise. Then, of course, once that comes, what do? Just go to the appointing authority. I called the control of State House. It told me, yes, come, and you see the president. So I went to see the president. At that time, he was recovering from his accident. Actually, he was in his private rooms at the house, in the apartment in State House. So that's where I met him, and he congratulated me for the appointment. And then I said, Your Excellency, how often do you want? How many times do you want us to have cabinet meetings? 1 month? I said 1 month. He said no. Fortnightly. Fortnightly. And I can assure you, during his time, for the 10 years I worked for, 9.5 years, we had cabinet meetings every fortnight.
A brave new world was dawning on Kenya, a world of possibilities.
During the campaigns to remove KANU, I was with Raila in LDP, and Kibaki was in another outfit with Charity Ngilu and Kijana Wamalwa. When we got together to work together, we formed what we called a summit, which really worked, brought together and it was the supreme body. And I became the chairman of that summit. So we worked together until we succeeded in getting Kibaki as president.
I must say I was ready to run actually as president in 2002. And I noticed my friend Raila was not ready. So the battle within the Rainbow Group, LDP, which brought together Raila, myself, Mudi Awori, the late Professor George Saitoti, that group inspired the Kenyan political scene to the extent that you can now talk of the NAK revolution. Because then we joined with Kibaki's team of Ngilu and Wamalo in NAK, the whole thing changed. And as a result of that revolution, Kenyans were adjudged the most optimistic people on earth. I remember that. Because Kenyans could even arrest a policeman and take him to a police station, or get some fellow trying to bribe a policeman and get him and take him to a police station. That was a sense of freedom, the sense of fresh beginning.
It was a fantastic relationship. You see, I was older than him, and yet he was my boss. But he didn't forget that fact, that I was his elder brother. So our chemistry worked. Both of us are calm people. He's a very patient person. His brain is sharp. Mine, not sharp. So that his sharpness and my not sharpness worked in a symbiotic manner. We relied on each other.
Behind the energy in government was a document whose content would soon spell trouble for Kibaki's young administration. A memorandum of understanding between Kibaki's initial alliance and the Raila Odinga wing of government.
We had a great document called the MOU, and under its terms, President Kibaki was to be the president. I remember he negotiated hard on Wamalwa, because we said if NAK, we are giving you NAK, the president, then give LDP the vice president. But Mzee Kibaki convinced us that he had gone so far with Wamalwa, and in any event, we were proposing 2 vice presidents. So let me go with Wamalwa, and you, Kalonzo, will come in as vice president. Raila will come in as prime minister. And we had even Professor Saitoti as the first deputy prime minister. And then Ngilu was supposed to be the second deputy prime minister. And Kipruto Arap Kirwa, I hope you remember him, was supposed to be the third deputy prime minister. And Mzee Mudi, Uncle Mudi, was to be the chief coordinating minister. That was the MOU.
He gave me the ministerial position in the Ministry of Home Affairs. Kijana Wamalwa was appointed the vice president. Unfortunately, within the next 6 months, he got ill and he passed away. One morning, I was working in my office and I got a call. You are required at State House. So I went to State House. And I was ushered in, and in his humorous way, he said, hapa iko kazi. Hapa iko kazi, wewe unaweza kuifanya hii kazi. So I said, kazi gani? Wewe unajua. Wewe unajua tu iko kazi gani. So I said, whatever kazi unataka kunipatia, mimi niko tayari. So we laughed, and he said, of course, you know, we are still mourning my friend Kijana Wamalwa, but the government must continue. So I think you can help me in running this government. Are you ready? So I said, yes. Thank you, I'm ready. That's how it went.
When we went into government, there were people who thought I should not be appointed minister because I had rejected a shadow minister position previously. And he brushed them aside and still recognized my contribution and efforts. So he had his own mind. You cannot say that during Mwai Kibaki's time that he either didn't give you a post or gave you a post because somebody lobbied. He always made his decisions, and that's a lesson to those in politics.
You have been given your parameters for work. So it's for you to show the output. It's for you to show the output. So he gives you a lot of discretion.
Once he has appointed you to a position, he doesn't want you to go running back to him. He was a great person, who delegates. And so when he delegated the position of Home Affairs to me and Vice Presidency, that was it. He said, kwenda ufanye kazi.
But disquiet that was beginning to simmer in the background soon exploded into a full-blown combat in government.
During the campaign in 2002, we had stated ambitiously that when we take over, we will implement a new constitution in 100 days. That is the usual political. And indeed, we believed we could do that. But of course, when we took over, there were a lot of things, that could not allow us to do that. We started, unfortunately, and that is like everyone else, Kibaki was no angel, but he was the best person there was at the time and even of now. There were one or two things that did happen. And there was the memorandum of understanding that we had written before. It was not implemented. And that created now a question of intra-fighting that delayed the matter of the new constitution.
In my view, had the MOU been implemented, President Kibaki would not have faced any opposition for his second term. And you can imagine how far this country would have gone. There would have been no ICC cases, there would have been nothing. So I think that was a moment where the leadership, all of us, failed the country.
Kibaki did not break it. It is alleged that he broke that MOU. He didn't do it. Kibaki merely implemented MOU by appointing the number of ministers which they had agreed each party will have. 11 on one side and 14 on the other side. Kibaki appointed Raila to the most powerful minister for roads, works, transport. And Raila was very happy. And he came to say thank you. And Kibaki appointed the ministers from both sides. And all the communities were represented as agreed.
Because Raila was very at the center of the politics at that time. You remember, he's the one who said, Kibaki Tosha. He had given a list of the people to be appointed ministers. And of course, Kibaki's side and it's their own list. So when eventually the selection was done, some of the ministers which Raila wanted were left out. Others, just from the same area, others from the same area were selected. And that was the main cause. Not that Raila got less than he wanted, but the names of the ministers were not 100% the same. Some were left out, other people were appointed, but from the same area.
The failed referendum of 2005, that is where the fissures appeared. That is where that campaign, moving on to 2007, ended up to be very divisive, and there was ethnic emotions which contributed to the 2007, and blame goes to both sides. Because those of us in government, we look back and you wonder whether we could have done better. Our colleagues who were then in opposition, are there things they could have done better? Because it takes two to tango. I think that's the sad part of our history, which we must never repeat.
At the Bomas of Kenya, the National Constitution Conference had picked up pace. The new president having promised to deliver on a new constitution within 100 days. But in Kibaki's inner circle, priorities had changed, and the power-sharing arrangement that Raila's team had in mind was no longer on the cards.
There were forces outside because now, having not implemented the memorandum of understanding that had injected some negativity in between. So Yash Palgan, he had to be thrown out. Then we went with Amos Wako. So there was the Wako draft, which to me, I believed was the right one. But now, at the time, there were already the divisions because of the MOU non-implementation. So what Kibaki and I as his lieutenant believed in, the other side did not. That's why in 2005 we were unable to go. There was the orange and the banana.
His first government, he was very deliberate in who he put where. And that enabled the government to work in harmony. It also enabled the government to deliver results to Kenyans. And you can see a marked difference between, in certain areas, between the first government, his first term and his second term. But I also want to credit his second term, the coalition government, the grand coalition government, for bringing to birth the 2010 Constitution, something that had been elusive for more than 20 years. That is one of the things that you credit the grand coalition government, which was President Kibaki and Right Honorable Raila Odinga.
The men and women who are close to President Kibaki, and I don't want to name names, right, well, felt, we have got what we wanted. So these other guys, it was very difficult for us in LDP, and I remember we sent Mzee Mudi Awori with Raila and myself to go and now tell Mzee Kibaki, can we have the document read? The MOU read. And it had been sealed before a commissioner for oaths at the Nairobi club. And I had prayed over it. So, the MOU was never read. That was the first major misstep. And that then brought a sense of mistrust within the political class.
But fellows who are not appointed ministers started complaining that the MOU was not honored. The Katiba did not allow that formation of government. There was no there was no constitutional support for what people thought they had agreed. And Kibaki as a president followed the Katiba strictly.
Because our team, led by him, failed, then it energized the other side to see that, look, the man in power has not been able to marshal people behind him and failing. So now it was a question of bombarding him. But in spite of that, he still steered the country until the new constitution. By then, I was no longer with him, but the new constitution of 2010 was promulgated under his stewardship.
For the time I was with the president, he told me that if you bring in politicians in the consultations when you are appointing in the cabinet, you never form a cabinet. Let them propose names. The work of appointment is mine. Because I know these people. So the politicians will bring proposals as to who they want him to appoint. The first is competence. Are these people competent? Because you may want to appoint some people, but you get people who are not competent. Can you get a competent person? Another one. Because competence for him was very important. How competent are these people to deliver the program?
The seeds of discord had now been sown, and the ill-fated 2007 general election now loomed ominously over a nation that only 5 years earlier had been rated as the most optimistic in the world.
Nitaihifadhi, nitailinda na kuitetea katiba ya Kenya kwa mujibu wa sheria iliyowekwa. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu nisaidie.
The dusk swearing in of Mwai Kibaki for his second term and the ensuing meltdown in the country marked a new law for Kenya, and for many critics remains an indelible blemish on Kibaki's legacy.
I wouldn't call it a blemish. It was just political reality. And that's why when ODM Kenya, after the split of the oranges, and I was running for president, and garnered, according to people, some of them say a distant third, but let them try and get 1 million votes. Because Kibaki had 4 million, I don't know, Raila had another, whatever. When we decided to form the first coalition, before the Grand Coalition, that is what stopped the bloodletting. Stopped the bloodletting because, of course, President Kibaki had been pronounced the winner, rightly or wrongly. The next thing is, if people are aggrieved, they'll go to the Supreme Court. Now that, I think, did not happen. So instead, it was street fights.
I asked the president, I told him, Your Excellency, because there is so much tension in the country, can I go and talk to the media, the chief media editors and the owners, to tell them they have to handle this transition very, very responsibly. Because the way tensions are, you can very easily trigger violence. He told me go. He told me go and talk to them. I got a meeting at Arambe House, and they came. And I told them that we don't know what the results will be, but there is a lot of tension from which you are developing from both sides. So the way you handle this thing is very important. Whoever wins, it doesn't matter. But please handle it carefully. Don't explode the situation. You know, I got very interesting responses from some of the media chief editors. They said they were not children. I should not talk to them as though they were children. And I told them, I'm not talking to you as though you are children. I mean, you are children. But this is a reality. We have a responsibility. You media, you have a responsibility. We in government have a responsibility. So they said they know how to handle it. I left. And you know what happened after that? That was like around 1 o'clock. I went back to the president. I've talked to them, but they are not cooperating. That's what I do to the president. I told him they are not cooperating. He told me, you know, media is like that. They like crisis. He told me media are like that. They like crisis. So of course that evening, what did we find? The headlines, stolen election from some of the newspapers. And after that, you know what followed. So it was very unfortunate. It was very unfortunate. But Kibaki was prepared even to step down. The tension was growing. The people are being mobilized in the town. And you know, Kibera, people are up in arms. When you are in that type of situation, if you continue to operate within a vacuum, then things can get out of hand. So there was a Minister of Security, there was the Attorney General, there was the Minister of Justice in the State House, there was Director of Intelligence and what have you. And they discussed. And they found the best thing is not to allow a vacuum. So that will now empower those people who are complaining. The best thing, that's where the president. This is unprecedented in the history of Kenya, but since he has been announced, that period for swearing in is administrative.
Those who believed Kibaki did not win, and those who believed Raila had won, okay, that is an argument that can go on forever. But the reality was when ODM Kenya joined with Kibaki, the nation state was restored. Before Kofi Annan and other people came on board, we didn't have a country. And so I'm personally proud that my team had come up with that strong position that we need to save the country, which is what we did. We got names, we were given bad names, but no bad name can really compare to saving a whole nation.
With so much at stake in Kenya, the international community mounted a spirited diplomatic offensive to pull Kenya back from the brink, giving rise to the much-referenced Grand Coalition government. But if the machetes and arrows had gone quiet, political intrigues were only just beginning. Kibaki had since picked the current Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka as his vice president in the midst of the chaos. But now he had Raila Odinga as prime minister and a perceived co-equal in the running of government.
There was a lot of complaints because the prime minister thought that he had the protocol of the vice president. And we had to give the interpretation, which we even sent to Parliament. And the Parliament was satisfied because that protocol was in the Constitution itself.
The Prime Minister had a sense of entitlement in terms of seniority of protocol. Eventually we resolved that. I myself decided I'll let the Prime Minister be the co-leader. And since I'm on a Kibaki side, there's no point. The country is more important than us. And those protocol things disappeared. You remember the ruling by Speaker Ken Marende about the leadership even of the House. We just postponed everything. But I ended up still being the leader of government business. And in public, we would make it easy. I took it upon myself to be introducing the president, the prime minister. So the pecking order, for purposes of the real power sharing, was the prime minister was the number two, while legally the number two was the president, was the vice president.
You know, the vice president has no power of his own. His is derived from the president. You know, it's like a president in waiting. So a president in waiting, his protocol is still above the prime minister. Because even if Kibaki was out of office, then he's the vice president who would have taken over. Not the prime minister. Prime minister would not have taken over. And we had to be very clear on that, because we never know what would happen. But there are a lot of people felt that since the prime minister was the partner in the government, he had a higher protocol.
That time they were saying, had I joined with Raila or had I joined with Kibaki? But there was no basis of joining Raila. We had already split the Orange movement, okay? And here there are people saying, let us form a coalition. I don't regret one moment. If anything, I'm very proud that God used us to save this nation.
Despite the shadow boxing and endless intrigues in the Grand Coalition, Kibaki in both of his terms is still considered to have been a president on time, especially for his passion to grow Kenya's economy.
People remember him for free primary education, giving access to all the children of Kenya.